Welcome back to our Mastt tutorial series. I'm Jake, and today we're going to be exploring the cash flow module. This powerful tool allows you to project expenses over the life of your project, track your actuals versus forecasted spending, and visualize your financial flows. So the cash flow module helps you answer critical questions like, when will we spend our budget, and are we spending according to plan, which are essential bits of information for effective project financial management. At the top of the module, you'll see the chart that is providing a visual representation of your project's cash flow over time. The green bars, these represent paid or actual amounts that have already been spent. These will appear once you've closed off a month, and it will show your historical expenditure. The colored bars represent your forecasted amounts by category. So you've got your light blue, which is your contract, your dark blue, your uncommitted forecast amounts, yellow are your risk, purple is your client contingency, pink is your project contingency, and then you've got your two baseline and target options, which are blue and red. These can be used to compare your actual forecasted cash flow against your planned spending, helping you identify if you're actually tracking to plan. Now, there's actually two ways to forecast cash flow within Mastt. One is an individual object level, so that will be forecasting specifically by a contract and contract line items, variation, forecast, or risk. The other is at a budget level, so that will be much higher level forecasting by budget category. Now, individual object forecasting is ideal when you have really detailed breakdown information from your vendors, or you want precise control. Budget level forecasting is better when you've got a lot of items, and you don't need that line item precision. So, to do individual object forecasting, what you do is you just find the object you want to forecast. So if I go consultant budget, here we go. This architect contract is pretty good. We go 3 dots, edit contract cash flow. And then there we go. It will bring up the actual breakdown, and then you'll have the forecast final cost and any unassigned figures. So this is just items that either have not been paid against or have not been forecast. So you can either manually enter in the actual value, and as you enter it in, as you can see, the unassigned amount decreases. So you can do this manually, or what you can do is you can also copy an entire row from Excel of the data and paste it in. You just need to go to, which is really useful if your vendors have provided the cash flow projections already. So what you would do is you'd select the row in Excel, copy it, click the first month that it appears, and then you'd paste. And it will populate all the months at once, which will save you significant time. Once you've zeroed out your cash flow, what will happen is you'll get the confetti to celebrate that it's all zeroed out, and then you can confirm, and then that will all be done. Now, if you want to do budget level cash flow, you first need to toggle it on. So you come up to the gear up here, and you will turn on budget cash flow entry, which enables the 3 dots next to your budgets. Now, when you go through and you are looking to edit your budget cash flow, something to bear in mind is that if there's any cash flow underneath it, it will erase it all and replace it with a budget cash flow. There can be no individual or budget cash flow underneath a parent budget. For example, if I was to go ahead, what I'll do is I'll just turn off this chart. If I was to go ahead, risk provision, and have individual forecasts for these, and I go through and I do budget level cash flow, it will override everything underneath it. That's something to bear in mind. So what we're going to do is, when you're doing a budget level cash flow, it will give you all the different categories underneath it. This one just has got risk that has not been done. So we can go ahead and add in the amounts. I'll just do very basic, just there. And as you can see, we've zeroed out the unassigned amounts, and now we've got the confetti celebration. Great. And so I can go through and I can confirm that. And now, if you can see, these are now grayed out. You cannot edit the cash flow for these individual items. And you've got this orange line down here. That's just showing you what is underneath that budget level cash flow amount. That's what that's there for. But the goal with cash flow is to make this number 0. Now, let's say that it's the end of the month. All payments have been entered. Now, what you should be looking to do is to actually close the month to track actual versus forecasted spending. So, for example, I'm just going to change the range for this to today, because I've got a little bit here. As you can see, we've got some months here that have got some paid amounts, which is what these green lines indicate. You're having to go ahead and close off this month. There was nothing forecasted in here, but if I go through, I close this off, it will now swap to show what the actuals are. But what this means is that if you're not an administrator, you can't change any of those payments anymore. If you're not an administrator, you cannot reopen these months anymore. So that's really important to bear in mind. So it's only really after all payments have been done. If you need to make changes to a closed month, just contact an administrator for that. If I go back to the beginning, let's say we've got these months where there is no payment against it. You can see there are no blue lines, but if we go through and close this off, it's going to change from showing what the estimate was to what was actually spent, and then we can go through and reopen the month, and it'll toggle back to showing what the estimate was for that period. And I showed this a little bit earlier, but you do have this range, so you can select what sort of range that you want. We do have some preset ranges, so you've got today, which is 6 months, including the current month that you're in, the calendar year, previous financial and current financial years. I've got mine set to the Australian financial year as well as the next financial year. And then also all data, which goes from the very first payment or forecast all the way to the very last payment or forecast. Now, if I go back to here, I'll toggle the chart back on. And then what you can see is we can also go ahead and toggle on a schedule. Now, as you can see, there we go. These indicate when specific things are planned to happen. Finishing schedule milestones are planned to happen. That is really what those are for, so you can really explain why certain things are happening, and that's what that's there for. Now, one of the really important things to obviously just remember two things, because these are the most common issues or tech support tickets that we get. If you are not an administrator, you can't reopen a month. And if a month is closed, you can't edit the payments inside that month. Very important to bear in mind. And if you go through and you've got a parent budget level cash flow, you can't edit the cash flow for anything underneath it. If you want to start doing the individual object cash flow, you need to go through and clear the budget cash flows before that will become available to you. So that's really how you can manage your cash flow in Mastt. It's a very simple process, but by projecting your expenses and tracking your actual versus your forecasted spending, you can get really valuable insights in your financial planning. We generally recommend updating your cash flow projections monthly so that you maintain accurate forecasts and you can provide your stakeholders with reliable spending projections, but also so that when your months are closed, they're closed regularly, and it helps to maintain data hygiene. So in our next video, we're actually going to explore some of the more advanced stuff like audit log and snapshots within Mastt. But thank you so much for watching.